Welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be remembering four legendary American singers who passed away today and recently. We'll look back at the life of a voice that shaped an entire generation, a story woven from both success and failure. From the heights of her musical career to her profound personal struggles, her journey reveals strength that transcends the glitz and glamour. And what really happened to Tom Hanks? Now let's begin. Demon Wilson passed away on January 30th, 2026, at the age of 79 following complications related to cancer. For many viewers, he was Lamont's Sanford in Sanford and Son, a role that made him one of television's most recognizable faces and helped define a generation of American sitcom history. In a world built around comedy, Lamont stood out because beneath the humor was patience, resilience, and the steady presence of a man holding his ground. Before Hollywood, Wilson had already lived a different kind of action story. As a wounded Vietnam veteran and Purple Heart recipient, he carried real-life hardship long before he ever stepped onto a soundstage. As his career moved forward, he remained a familiar presence through television, film, and later his spiritual calling as a minister. Off-screen, his life held struggle, including addiction, reinvention, and serious illness. When his name appeared in the famous deaths news earlier this year, it served as a moment for many to reflect on a life of profound depth. Demon Wilson was never defined by spectacle, but he showed that true strength can come from surviving war, fame, and personal battles, and still finding purpose beyond them. Mel Novak passed away on April 9, 2025, at the age of 90 from natural causes, closing the chapter on one of action cinema's most recognizable villainous presences. For many fans, he was Stick in Game of Death, the cold assassin with a matchstick between his teeth, whose menace helped sharpen the legacy of Bruce Lee's final martial arts myth. In an era of heroes, Novak built his name by becoming the threat they had to overcome. As his career moved through Black Belt Jones, An Eye for an Eye, and other crime and martial arts films, he became a master of a specific kind of screen power, precise, dangerous, and unforgettable. He performed many of his own stunts, enduring physical pain that followed him long after the cameras stopped. His contributions to the genre are now a permanent part of the USA Legend Archive, ensuring that his impact on the golden age of martial arts cinema is never forgotten. Off-screen, his life carried a different mission through ministry and prison outreach. Mel Novak was rarely the hero of the story, but he proved that sometimes the man audiences remember most is the one who made danger feel real. Breaking news: there are faces the world trusts without question, and for generations, Tom Hanks has been one of them. A symbol of warmth, decency, and quiet strength that feels almost unbreakable. Yet behind that familiar smile lies a life shaped not by ease, but by absence, uncertainty, and a loneliness that never fully left him. His story is not simply one of success, but of a man who learned to carry invisible fractures with grace, turning silence into humanity and pain into something the world could believe in. Born in 1956, Tom Hanks entered a childhood marked by separation rather than stability. When his parents parted ways, he was still too young to understand, yet old enough to feel everything that followed. His early years became a constant movement from one home to another, never staying long enough to feel rooted. Each new place brought unfamiliar faces, unfamiliar rooms, and a quiet reminder that nothing lasted. In that shifting world, he learned not to ask for too much, not to expect permanence, and slowly became a child who survived by adapting rather than belonging. The stage, however, gave him something life did not: a sense of identity, a fleeting moment where he was seen and heard. His journey into acting was far from certain or comfortable. Arriving in New York with little more than determination, he faced rejection after rejection, often overlooked in an industry that did not yet understand his quiet presence. He took whatever roles he could, not out of ambition alone, but out of necessity to continue. From small theater productions to early television work, he built his path slowly, grounded in discipline rather than luck. Recognition came gradually, and with films like Big, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, and Cast Away, he transformed into one of the most respected actors in the world. Yet behind every celebrated performance was an emotional cost, as each role demanded not only skill, but a piece of his inner self. Beyond the screen, life continued to test him in quieter, more personal ways. His battle with type 2 diabetes, diagnosed later in life, brought a daily reminder of physical limits and constant vigilance. The pressures of fame, the expectations of perfection, and the weight of public admiration often left him feeling isolated, even in crowded rooms. As a father, he carried concerns and regrets, particularly when facing the struggles of his children, questioning whether he had done enough to protect them from the very instability he once endured. These were not loud tragedies, but slow, persistent burdens that shaped his inner world. And yet, what defines Tom Hanks is not the pain he carried, but the way he chose to respond to it. Through decades of fame, he remained grounded, kind, and deeply human, offering empathy where others might have hardened. His legacy is not only in the unforgettable characters he brought to life, but in the quiet integrity he preserved behind the scenes. He stands as a reminder that true strength is not found in perfection, but in the ability to remain gentle in a world that often is not. If his stories have ever brought comfort to your quiet moments, perhaps this is a chance to remember that behind every familiar smile is a journey we may never fully see, and a courage that deserves to be honored. He is still alive. Bruce Glover never built his screen legacy by being the hero in the center of the fire. Instead, he became something stranger, and in many ways, more enduring. Passing away on March 12, 2025, at the age of 92 from natural causes, Glover leaves behind a career defined by men who felt dangerous, not because they were loud, but because they were unpredictable. For many, he remains Mr. Wint in Diamonds Are Forever, the unnervingly calm assassin whose elegance, menace, and dark wit gave James Bond one of his most unusual enemies. As his path moved through Chinatown, Walking Tall, and decades of crime and action television, Glover mastered the art of disruption. He specialized in characters who entered a scene and quietly shifted its balance, securing his place among the American legends who specialized in unforgettable character work. A Korean War veteran and survivor of serious accidents, his off-screen life carried its own tests of endurance. Bruce Glover was never action cinema's conventional warrior. He was something rarer, proof that sometimes the most unforgettable force is not the man leading the charge, but the one waiting just outside it.